With us right now is Anna Hall, silver medalist, women's heptathlon. Obviously, you had a long few days. How many cars does it feel like ran over you after the event?
About 7, one for each event.
One for each event. Well, hopefully the high jump car was a compact size. So you have an interesting approach in high jump. About what you dribbling in about 15 steps before you actually start running?
That part's actually kind of just freestyled, so it's probably different every time. I just kind of, they call it like my fairy steps in, and then I start going once I hit the tape.
Yeah, all right, Twinkle Toes. I see you out there. You even freestyle and dance in between jumps.
Yes.
See you out there. How'd the event go out in the high jump apron? I saw you had you went into the event regular and came out wrapped up after. You all right?
I came into the meet kind of nursing a little bit of an injury and felt like I got to the line, ready to go. And then high jump kind of re-aggravated it a little bit and had a scary little attempt at 186 where my leg kind of gave out on me, but got up and I was like, okay, I can walk and move, and my knee's just a little bit weak right now, not at 100%, but came out of it disappointed with the mark, but thankful that my knee wasn't worse than it could have been, so ready just to keep fighting.
Well, you definitely got that knee to get a little more stable because you threw a big time shot. How was that? I was able to help your coach a little bit, not literally, but just make sure he got there. How'd the shot go?
Yeah, shot put was really good. We've been waiting for that one for a long time. My throws get picked apart by the Europeans and everybody that's like, that's her weakness. She just needs to work on it. And I'm like, I'm always trying. So to see progress there was really encouraging. And that was one of the events that I got to spend the most time on the last few weeks, kind of nursing my knee back to health. So it was awesome to see that, the events that we got the chance to sharpen up.
And clearly you're no stranger to making history in the event. Last time the USA won the medal was actually JJK. So you just, in the Olympics, it was 1992, was JJK. So going into next year into Paris and obviously taking silver here, what does that motivation look like for you?
It's a ton of motivation. I really wanted to come out on top here and build towards next year. And, I didn't quite hit it this year, but I think I'm going to be really, really hungry this fall. And, every time in my career where I feel like I've fallen short one year, I feel like the next year I come back and always exceed my own expectations for myself. So part of me's a little bit heartbroken, but the other part of me is kind of excited and fired up that I know something good's coming. And I was lying on the track for a long time. Everyone's like, is she going to get up? And I was just looking up at the board and I was like, we're not doing this again. So, yeah.
As many times as I've seen you compete, and it's been quite a few, juniors until now, I've always seen you compete in multiple events. Now, with that being said, do you look forward to maybe competing in other events here at the World Championships?
I wish. We decided to put the 400 hurdles on hold this year. So a little disappointed on that end, but, probably for the best given that I ended up showing up here a little bit banged up. But, I'm always available if the 4x4 team, needs somebody to run around or anything. I'll be ready if I'm called on.
Sign her up, coach. Look, this is selfish and I might be a little biased, but I want to see it.
It's not up to me, but I'll be ready. I'm recovering just as if they're putting me on it.
All right, that's awesome to hear. And the second thing I'll say is I've never seen you at a competition without your family there. So did they make the trip this time?
Yes, I had a large support crew. I had my parents, 2 of my 3 sisters, my uncle, his wife, and one of my cousins. So yeah, they were all here.
Are you the tallest? It's all girls, right?
Yes, I have 3 sisters, so 4 girls, and I am the tallest by an inch.
No boys?
No boys.
Just your dad?
Yeah, just my dad.
Y'all gave him heck, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Oh my God.
Where does the family tree of athleticism start? I mean, is that from dad's side, mom's side, or?
I think on paper, it looks like it's my dad's side. He did 3 sports at the University of Michigan, which I don't know how. He did football, basketball, and track, and he was a decathlete. So I think that's kind of where my maybe hunger to do everything comes from. And then my mom, she didn't really have the same opportunity to do sports growing up, but she's super, super athletic now. So I do think some comes from her too.
And I'll say, I want to talk about your discipline. I watched you travel out of the country to go to an athlete retreat where it was a big party and a few meetings. And I think you were the only person who woke up in the morning, went to practice, and maybe didn't go out and party that night. You think that helped you now, that discipline in this event?
I think so. Yeah, I've been, I guess, kind of like proud of how my discipline's developed over the years. You know, I think younger me would be a little bit surprised that, you know, the right choices are kind of like the easy choices now. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what sets you up, and that's what gives me the confidence coming into meets like this to be able to say, like, you know, I can go for this in the 800. Like, I've worked for this, I've made all the right choices, and I'm ready to give it my best.
Mentally, how do you flip that switch? You talked about the difficulties you had in the jump at, you know, 181, I remember, right? 86, excuse me. 186, and man, that's 5 centimeters short. Look at that. Don't sell me short, Eric. 186. Talk nice. All right. So how do you flip that switch? You know, obviously you do the multi, and the high jump is one of those events where you kind of have to get over the negative component of, you know, the internal talk. How do you flip that switch knowing like, hey, I'm feeling dinged up. I don't feel like I can maybe, you know, jump at my best today. And obviously you were able to bounce back in the shot. You had a nerve-wracking moment in the javelin a little bit.
Very much.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, the javelin is, you know, still my weakest event, and, you know, I've been working really, really hard at it, and it's just, you know, it's not quite coming along yet, but I think we're getting closer. It's kind of been an event that's normally 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I think just learning and mastering that technique is going to take me a while, but I'm confident that we'll do it. And my first javelin throw was terrible and a foul, and then my second one was really, really bad. And in my mind, I was like, I have 2 fouls because that's not worth anything. And so then it was all this pressure on my last throw. And I just kept telling myself, you know, like, I'm not going to take myself out of a chance at a gold medal right here. And it just has to go farther. And my coach was telling me, like, visualize your best throw and, like, think about this and that. And in my mind, I was just like, this is going to go farther. Like, it has to. And so I was really thankful when I pulled that out, and I like ran over to my dad. And
was that moment in the jav, did you feel more pressure into the jav than going into the final event?
Yes. I would have been so mad at myself if I didn't give myself a chance going into the 800, and just knowing that I could throw farther than I had on my second throw. So I was really, really happy that I could pull that out, because that was so stressful. And, you know, going into the 800, I know everything was on the line, so that was nerve-wracking, but, like, all I can do is just run my hardest. So that's, to me, not quite as nerve-wracking as the other events, because I'm like, okay, well, I've got here, I gave myself a shot, and now I just run my heart out, and, you know, I can't really control the rest.
For some of those who maybe don't know much about the multi, particularly you, what would you say your strongest event is, and what do you think your favorite event, or are they the same?
Usually the same. I think my strongest event is the 800, or the 200 sometimes. And my favorite event is normally the one that I'm PRing the most in. So this means I'm going to say shot put. But it's normally one of the jumps or a run. Yeah.
When you're going into the 800 at a championship, are you calculating how much you need to bridge the gap? You know, like how much, hey, I need to beat this person by this much, or are you solely focused on just giving it whatever you have left?
A little bit of both. I knew going into 800, I needed to beat her by 2.5 seconds to win. And honestly, I don't think anybody thought that she could run 2:05. So my coaches, they just told me, you know, you're going to run as fast as you can. And in my mind, I was like, I'm going to try to run 2:01 or 2:02. And, you know, if that's not good enough, then it's just too good. And, you know, I went for it. I went out really hard and suffered for it a little bit at the end, and came home in 2:04. And to my surprise, she was right there. And so that was a little bit painful, but yeah, I was just running your heart out. So not too much you can do just strategy wise.
We know that the multi, it solely depends on, you know, how you can kind of maintain momentum through events. When you look back at it, do you evaluate in this instance, hey, I could have improved here? I mean, I think you're a 190 high jumper, right? So we know this, right? So, you know, do you look at it like, I let too much get away, and next year, or the next step I do, I need to kind of pace myself, through the events this way, or it's just like, nah, every event, every championship, every meet, I'm just going to give it what I have in each individual event.
Yeah. I think something I'm working on is not doing that, because as soon as I got back from the mixed zone, I walked over to Coach Welty and I was like, 40 points, every high jump bar is 40 points. So I'm like, I made 186 and that's the title. But there's so many places where I left points on the table. I think literally every event except for the shot put. So it's really easy every multi to go back and nitpick, kind of where you went wrong. But the conditions are different every time. The competition is different every time. So yeah, it's a little bit useless, I think, to go back and be like, well, what if this, what if that, and what if that? Because nothing's going to go perfect. And you just try to put together the best that you have that day.
So being that first I'll ask you, how many multis do you typically compete in one season?
This year I did 3 heptathlons and 1 pentathlon indoors. I think last year I did 3 indoors and 4 outdoors. So a little bit less now that I'm a professional, and I think I'll probably stick around that number of 1 and 3 most years.
But going into any future championships, as long as health is with you, can we expect to see you in maybe some other events outside of the multi and 4x4?
Yes. Every single time a championship schedule comes out, I look at it right away and I'm like, is there literally anything else that I could make it in that works? I already looked at next year, and the 400 hurdles are not possible with the heptathlon. So that's a little upsetting. But the way that the multi flip-flop schedules, that means that the next year it will be. So yeah, if it's ever a possibility, I'm always going to try. I really, really want to do a double on the world stage at some point, and always, hopefully build up enough creds in the running events throughout the year to put myself in the conversation for relay pools.
4x1.
No, not that one.
Speaking of next year in preparation, obviously you have maybe 6 weeks to 8 weeks off, and you'll start training again. Do you still consider yourself to be the one to beat going into Paris and in Paris?
I'm not sure. I think internally I always view myself as the underdog, no matter how much everyone says, like, oh, this is yours to lose, da 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 da. In my mind, I'm like, no, like, da da da. And, I think Nafi's going to be coming back next year, and I know she's going to be hungry after being hurt this year. Sulik's going to be back. I'm going to be extra motivated, and Kat's going to be another year along post her injuries. So, I think it's just going to be a battle, and I'm just going to do everything that I can to be ready. And I know that it's going to take a historic score to win that meet. So that's what I'm going to be preparing for.
I'm claiming the gold for you here and right now. Next year's the revenge season. Beware.
We appreciate you joining us, Anna. You did great. Obviously, we know the result is not one that you would hope for, but we know that you'll use it and use that motivation going into Paris, and look forward to you being up on that podium.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.